So my name is Wendy Gaither, and I have a company called Reach Marketing and Design. And I'm a graphic artist and a marketing professional, or at least that's what I tell people. So I have had my business for about 10 years. Actually, it's 10 years in August. And so here's my slide saying who your presenter is, in case you need to spell my name. So just a little bit about me. I started learning graphic design when I was in college. I had a summer job doing graphic design. I learned it really kind of self-taught. There was a girl that taught me one time so that I could take over her job while she had a pregnancy and maternity leave, and then she had her baby early, so then I had to learn everything on my own. I started with a program called Quark Express. I don't know if any of you have heard of it besides Danny, who is our print shop person today, but if you've heard of Quark Express, that's how far back I go. I've been doing this for several decades. I'm not going to say how many, but it's more than 2 decades and less than 4. Graphic designers are not good at math, so you can figure that out, but somewhere in there, I've done it for a while. And the programs that I've used have been Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign. I'm not really very good at Photoshop, but when I started my business about 10 years ago, I actually started using Canva just about at that time. And Canva has really evolved over the years. They got launched in 2013. I started in 2014, maybe 2015, I started using Canva here and there. But when they first got started, it was clunky and pitiful, and really only dealing with a few of the social media platforms, and that was about it. Now there's so much, it's really robust in the ways that you can use it. And so a little bit more about me, because I'm up here and, you know, why not? After I graduated from college, I was a marketing director for a regional retail chain for about 14 years. And in that job, I learned really a lot about marketing plans, budgeting. I coordinated special events. I did a lot of like TV writing and radio writing, what have you. It was really a very cool position to have, and I learned a lot about this industry. I was doing graphic design at the same time. After that, I moved into a job part-time where I worked at a print shop, and I did graphic design for them, but I also opened a large format printing department. So we had this 54-inch printer. I bought the machine, all the materials, did all the pricing, production. It was a really neat angle of the same type of industry. We made banners, signs, posters, decals, shirts. It was really another piece to my sort of graphic design life experience. And shortly thereafter is when I opened my business. I have found that a lot of people need a little bit of help here and there, which is kind of what I end up doing. I don't necessarily take over your whole marketing, but maybe, you know, help provide social media graphics or billboards or whatever. I also build websites. I moved into web design a couple years after I opened. I do WordPress platform websites. So then we had this little thing called a pandemic in 2020. And I'm a very social person, and so I was getting kind of lonely at home, and my family was driving me crazy. And so this position became available at the Chamber of Commerce to be a membership specialist. And I had the pleasure of working there for 2.5 years. I was helping people to learn about why chamber membership is beneficial and signing people up to be chamber members. So just for 1 second, I'm just going to stop because as a local business person, and they did not ask me to say this, you know, they don't even know I'm saying this, but as a person, I joined the chamber about 2 months after I started my business. So I've been a chamber member pretty much all this time. And my business, I work for myself. it's just me. I do have one person who's a contract worker for me, but otherwise it's just me. And my business has grown exponentially because of my chamber membership. And what happens is, as a Fayette Chamber member, and I don't know, a lot of different chambers of commerce are different from each other, but our chamber, there's a lot of opportunities to interact with people, other people. And it works out in crazy ways. Like, I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, and I was in a very large city, and somehow I am now a Farm Bureau member. I'm on the 4-H board, and I just build a bunch of farm websites and graphic design projects. So I don't know anything about farm animals, but yet because of these relationships that I've built and the time that I've spent doing some of these things, my business has grown. And so a lot of people say, like, oh, what do you get out of your chamber membership? Well, we're going to do something in a couple minutes that'll help us kind of see the benefits of participating in this activity other than just coming for Canva, but also just the interactions of having conversations with people, participating in things, attending things, what have you, is a great benefit. So that's just a little plug for the chamber. I just want to show you some of the things that I've done so I can kind of make you think that I have the right to stand up here and teach you these things. Here are some of the things that I've done. You may be familiar with some of them. I made the Fayette County logo, Drug and Alcohol, the World of Good Foundation, which is our friend Christy. Her logo, different logos and websites. So Fayette County Fair, Community Foundation, the YMCA. Please don't tell Jen that I used the wrong YMCA graphic, but this is what the homepage used to look like. The State Theater, Allen's Haunted Hayrides, the WIB. I've done a lot of websites. These are just a couple, just to show you that maybe I've done a few things. Over 30 years or whatever it is that I've spent doing graphic design, I couldn't show you all that I've done, but these are just a few things. So what I wanted to do now is just the thing that I was talking about with the chamber. One thing that they tend to do, and we're going to do it right now, is we're in a room with a bunch of people, and we could walk out and never know who's in the room. And that's a shame, because there are a lot of people who could build a lot of conversations, relationships, what have you here. So I'm actually going to have us go around the room and just say a few things. I'm going to boss you around and tell you what to say. But I'm just going to say a few things, because what happens with things like this is the break and afterwards, relationships get built. You know, you hear, you know, you have a farm and you are a state rep. You know, maybe you need to go talk with her about some bill or something that's going on. Or, you know, Pam's here from the YMCA. Maybe you have something that you want your child to be involved in, but you don't know that she's here from the YMCA until she says that, although I just told you. So that way we know who's here, and there's a chance to have some chatting together. And afterwards, what have you, we encourage that. How many of you, this is not a popularity contest or somebody's better than somebody else, but how many of you have access to Canva Pro already within your world? Okay, so we have some fairly good coverage of Canva Pro. What we're gonna do, because Kathy sent out a survey, is kind of go over the beginnings of Canva, you know, the free version. We'll do some of that, and then I'm going to do my best, not paid by Canva. I wonder if they have an affiliate program. I don't know, but to talk you into maybe even thinking about Canva Pro, because there's a lot of difference between the two. But you can make a lot of headway with just regular Canva. So we're going to talk about both. And first of all, we're just going to move into today's guide, which is, you know, you're not going to memorize this, there's no test, but these are just a few things that we're going to cover today. What is Canva and why are we teaching it? So Canva is an online graphic design program. You can create all kinds of things, as I said. They've really expanded what is available on Canva. You can actually even build a website on Canva. They have website hosting. Essentially, I'm standing up here to try to eliminate my own job. So, no, I'm kidding. But what happens is, you know, you're a small business, you're an organization, what have you. You want to sit down at your computer and be able to make something that you either pass out as a flyer, some kind of collateral, social media graphics, booklets, what have you. You want to be able to do that yourself if you can. And I come in, or someone like me comes in certain situations, but if you are able to kind of relay your own brand, your own thoughts, your own feel to what you're doing, it's available to you, and it's either free or not very expensive. So the reason that we're teaching this is because you all growing as businesses and organizations benefit our whole community. And so by doing this, giving you the power to come up with what it is that you want to say for your business is just another way for you to keep your own business growing in the way that you want to. So I don't know what's up with this font. This is really funky here. But it's easy for you to give your organization the most professional face possible. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what not to do on graphic design, how to make your designs not look too hokey or look a little bit more professional, what have you, as we go along. So Canva Free versus Canva Pro. Now I do want to say that if you're a nonprofit and not government, like when I say government, I mean like a government, an elected official, sorry Charity, you can apply for a free Canva Pro account. I've been understanding recently that they typically deny the first application that you send in, so you kind of either have to contact them or resubmit it. But it is a service that's available, which is very cool because nonprofits typically don't have a bunch of spending money to be able to pay. It's only $15 a month or $120 a year, but for a small organization who's fundraising anyway, that could be a big deal. So there is a way, I'm going to get into that in a second, but the difference between the free and the pro, and you'll get this slide deck, but there are a lot more photos and graphics. You don't have really any video available on the free one. There are more opportunities to make like a little place for your branding, so your logo, your colors, what have you, so you don't have to keep figuring that out every time you build something. You also have an easier time readjusting your sizes. So for example, let's say I am someone who wants to promote on Instagram, but I also want to turn it into a printable flyer. Rather than having to make a whole new design or copy everything and paste it into a new design, you can actually, within the graphic that you've already created, resize the design that you've already made, make it, you know, a billboard or whatever with Canva Pro. So there's also different tricks, like if you have a picture and you want to remove the background of the picture and just have like the cutout of a person rather than like the buildings in the background, that's a trick that you can do on Canva. They also have a lot of apps available to make, I don't know if you've seen that groovy writing where people have like, you know, in my happiness era, and they're like these wavy, they have apps that you can do that kind of stuff. You can add gradients, etc. So but the free one, you know, if you're looking to do social media posts, you're still able to upload your own logos, photos, choose colors, what have you. You can really make, you know, invitations to your grandchild's birthday party or, you know, Instagram posts, etc. So there's that. Hold on. So if you apply for the free nonprofit account, and I know a lot of you aren't nonprofits, but this is the process for what to do it. You have to provide documentation of your 501c3 status. It says approval takes 7 to 10 days. I hear that's not true. I hear that it's like 7 to 10 days before you hear a no, and then you have to really like kind of negotiate with them, but it's worth it, you know. So you'll have access to this. Also, it's,
when
yes?
I applied for 501c3 status, I had it within 24 hours.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, it was really quick.
Okay. Well, online people are griping about it, but I'm glad to hear that it isn't really.
This was a couple years ago.
Okay. Yeah. I've heard it's gotten harder. Was it?
We're a nonprofit too.
Good. Cool. Okay. Well then.
Do you have to reapply every year?
No. Once you apply, you're in. So I really wasn't sure exactly how to go about this, because the last time that we had this education opportunity, we did not have people bring their laptops and kind of try this yourself. I just stood up here and barked at people. So, so I kind of have like how to create a project and some tips about it, and then talked about that without people actually trying it out. You know, I'm just going to kind of walk through a couple things as far as what you're going to be looking for, and then we can actually do it together. So in Canva, you can choose to, one thing about Canva that's really great is that they keep up with the sizing that's required for a variety of social media platforms. So if you're making a Snapchat, what are they called? Reel, story, whatever, I don't have Snapchat. But if you're making Facebook event cover or just a Facebook business cover, they have all the sizes already ready. So you would begin by typing in what it is that you're looking for. Typically, one thing that you're going to want to do when you're making a Canva design is that you're going to want to name it. Because what happens is when you download the item and it's called Untitled Design, and then you download the next thing and it's also called Untitled Design, and you're looking through all your downloads and you say, which one is this? You know, so if whatever you name it is what it downloads as. So keep that in mind when you're naming. This is the magic resize that I was talking about. We'll go through that a little bit more when we go through the Canva Pro. And the reason that I even have this up here is because you're not going to remember all of this. And so if you want to access the slide deck later, it's actually written here for you. But I feel like I should go through it because I bothered to make it. So you're able to upload your logos and art. So if you have photos of an event and you want to put together like, you know, we just had this Mother's Day brunch and here are some pictures, you can put those in yourself, you can put your logo in and create your own graphic. So they have a lot of photos and graphics available to you if you're going in there yourself, but if you want to bring your own in, you also can do that. They have templates. And one thing that I wanted to point out about templates is that people have gone in and made templates and saved them. And sometimes you'll notice when you make your own template, they'll ask you like, do you want this to become public or, you know, like available to other people? And there are oodles of them. They don't have to stay the way they are. So if you look up, if you have Pro and you look up, let's say Mother's Day sale or Memorial Day, closed Memorial Day, maybe they show you all of the options that are done in a poster size, or there's a poster size and an Instagram size and a billboard size. You don't have to keep using that size. You don't have to use every element of that design. Typically what I like to do when I'm using Canva is scroll through, look at the ones that sort of go with my feel or my customer's feel, and then kind of tweak it from there. So you can resize yourself. Like for example, if you choose a poster but you really want it to be a Facebook post, you would go up to this magic resize and it would size it for you and readjust everything. It's not always the best at it, but it at least gives you a starting point rather than you having to build from scratch or copy and paste, what have you. So, and also you don't have to use, just because it would look like this, I don't even want to think about Christmas, but just because it looks like this doesn't mean that you couldn't put in, you know, a firework and a flag and, you know, something that has to do with the 4th of July. You can change the background colors. It's really very versatile. So really what it is, using these elements is just to kind of help you get an idea of how to just start. It's a starting point. The elements, there's a little area here we're going to look at that's called elements. And in there you'll find shapes, graphics, frames. You can drop things in frames that, you know, like a picture goes inside of a certain shape. They even have some crazy shapes like scratchy looking things, and it's neat. For example, Add photos to your design. We're back at Christmas again. Here's a photo and dropping it in there, and this is what it would look like. So it's a scratchy looking frame. It's like I knew I was going to say that. You can also resize as I did here and move it around, etc. You can edit photos, position them. You can change what the kind of filters are on them to make them look like different colors, whatever. The graphics that they have available, which I'm going to go back here for a second and show you like this. They have these little squares up here that have color, and it seems as though Canva really only goes up to about 5 colors. So graphic-wise, if you wanted to change colors, you have this up along the bar that has like the different options of color changes that you can do. And even within the graphic itself, if you click on the little present, it would probably give you the opportunity to change this color, and this color. So maybe your Christmas gifts are not green and blue. So, and then text-wise, there's a lot of different things that you can do with text. We'll get into that as well. They have different fonts, and that's another thing about the free versus the pro. The free has a lot more font choices. They do this awful thing, which is on purpose, of course, where you have to scroll through a lot of the paid ones. They have little crowns next to them. You have to scroll through and, oh, I like that font, I can't use that one. Oh, I like that font, I can't use that one. Same with the graphics themselves, like that little Christmas present. There may be a bunch of Christmas items that you want to pick from, and a lot of them have crowns on them if you have the free version. And actually, they don't let you sort it anymore. It used to be that you could sort out the free ones, but they don't let you do that anymore. So you actually have to scroll.
I want you to see how wonderful the paid ones.
Well, right, exactly. And actually, you can also pay for individual graphics. So if there's like one that you really like, a lot of times you can pay an extra $1 or $2. But there gets to be a point where I feel like, why don't you just get the pro? So, and then you can attach your Canva to social media profiles. That creeps me out, but you can do it if you want to. You can have your Facebook or your Instagram linked to your social media so that you actually just upload it directly to your business page or your nonprofit page, whatever. The only thing about that is also, and we're not going to get into social media here because social media actually makes me very stabby, but I do not do social media scheduling or anything like that. But the thing about that is if you do schedule things ahead of time, this complicates that because I believe it just launches your design right then. If you're using the Meta Business Suite and you're scheduling everything ahead of time, you really want to just download it to your computer and then upload it with your text and what have you. And just really quick, while we're talking about social media, I don't know what you all know, so I'm just going to say some design tips. Social media in general, particularly Facebook, Instagram, they do not reward you for putting tons of text on your graphic. With Facebook, there is a place for you to type information, and then your graphic should have white space, design, but not a lot of words. And it used to be that they actually wouldn't let you pay to promote and boost your graphics if you had a bunch of words on them. I don't know if it's still the same now. I don't do a lot of boosting, but if you put tons and tons of words on there, people don't read them. And sometimes I see graphics that have, a bunch of tiny little pieces of information and people are just scrolling. If what you have catches their eye, they are going to stop and read what you have to say. And so try not to put your whole life story on your design. We're going for eye-catching, representing your brand, and putting the text, minimal text, what you're trying to say, and then the rest of it, up in your post itself. Unfortunately, you can't do that with, like if you're doing digital ads like Google ads, you can't put text above your Google, you know, the ones that follow you everywhere. You see, yeah, that, or a billboard or something, you can't put the extra text. But a billboard, you know that you only have a couple seconds, so you want to be concise with that as well. Try to think of your social media posts the same way. You want to be concise and eye-catching, as though it were your billboard. So, all right, now we're going to get into trying some Canva stuff. Now, I have to tell you, hold on, I got to make use of my teacher's pet item here for a second. What time is it?
10 to.
Okay, we're going to have a restroom break here in a second. But I have to tell you that I am a Macintosh person, and this is a PC. So we're going to do our best to try to navigate this. I am not as fluid with this, but we're going to do our best. So this is Canva, the free version. And can you see that? Yeah, okay. So if you are on here and you're looking at your screen, you can type in, it's the same with your Pro. You can type in what you're looking for as far as designs and shape, size, etc. So if you want an Instagram post, Facebook post, here's a flyer if you're doing a flyer, you can type that in, or you could even say Memorial Day flyer. So we're just going to do that. If you had projects that you had already worked on, and in my Canva I have years of projects, and maybe I wanted to look up my old Memorial Day flyer, I would click on projects and it would hunt down anything that I called Memorial Day flyer. Remember when I told you to name your products or your projects? This is where it would find that. But if not, which is, I just literally started this Canva account yesterday, I'm not going to be looking up projects, I'm going to be looking up templates. And this is where you would find other people's designs. You're in free, so you don't want to look up other sizes necessarily, like Instagram post if you want to make a flyer, because you can't resize it. So we're just going to go to Memorial Day flyer. And here are a lot of choices. Now you'll see here are the crowns. Here's a crown, here's a paid, which means that there is a little piece of art in here that you'd have to pay for, but the rest of it, the design is free, but there is one thing in here that you'd have to pay for. Oddly enough, when you're in templates, you can actually filter out free and pro. As opposed to when you're in the actual little graphics themselves, that's where they get down to you can't hunt that down anymore. So we're going to go to all filters because we know that we're right now in the free version. And we're going to just scroll and scroll and scroll down to the bottom of the filters. And at the very bottom, because they're making you work for it, is the free choice. Apply. And so,
Where'd you see free?
what?
Scrolling all the way down.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I going to, if I'm going too fast, like, just tell me. I'm sorry. Okay.
If you're
Trying to
on,
find the filters.
Okay, so under design and print Memorial Day flyer, are you there?
I didn't do Memorial Day flyer, but
Oh, well then.
there we go. Okay.
If you're in Pro, you can't, the filters are,
it doesn't show you free as an option.
right.
If you're in Pro, yeah.
Well, yeah, but you don't need it then, right?
Right.
Yeah, right, yeah, okay.
It's free to you because you're already paying for it.
Right. just
Oh,
making sure.
so you're in Pro and you're looking at, yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're just going to pick out one of these guys that's free. And another tip I want to give you is if you look, a lot of times you can recognize somebody's Canva design because you're looking on social media or wherever and you're like, I saw that 14 times on Labor Day, you know? So one thing that I encourage you to do, other than swapping some things out, is try to think of what else might have similar elements to it. Like maybe 4th of July flyer. So you're still getting some of the patriotic feel, but you're not necessarily using the exact same graphic as other people at the same time. The other thing I encourage you to do is, if you're using these templates, well, there aren't that many for Memorial Day, but the further down you go, and especially in Pro, where there's a bazillion of them, the better off you are tweaking one that is, because typically people pick the ones towards the top, and they use that one. So in this case, we can't scroll very far, but if we could, I would say scroll down as far as you can. You want to look for things that kind of represent you. I'm just going to pick one. So the Pro people, if you're messing around with this, can you see any of these flyers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's just pick this one, which is this Memorial Day blue one, and it wants to sell you printing. Now, we have a person in the room who does printing for a very good price. Beg's Printing, which is Danny over there. She's here to learn about Canva because there are a lot of mistakes that people make in Canva and then send her documents, and it's painful for her. So she's trying to learn how to help others who are sending her Canva flyers. I'm speaking on behalf of you, Danny. I hope you don't mind. But you know, one thing I will say is that they are really good at printing and quick, and they come to Uniontown all the time and deliver, so keep that in mind. We are not going to use the printing option right now. We're just going to go to this customize this template. How many of you, this is the first time you've really ever delved into this before? Okay, all right, cool. So this is very intuitive. And I'm not saying that, I mean, again, I've been doing this for many decades, so it's a lot more natural for me to mess around with this stuff. But even so, you can't mess up too much here. You're encouraged to try your creativity, and if you mess something up, it automatically saves for you. There's a little back button up here. You know, if I move this, then I can put it back. Or if I delete it, I can put it back. So don't be too anxious about just sort of messing around with what you think you might like. But also, you may not, you know, these flags may not do it for you. It might be that you really want something that is just one flag, or you don't want a flag at all. Maybe you want, I don't know, a wreath. Maybe you want a wreath. Okay. So there are all these things along the side here: elements, text, brand, uploads, draw, projects, and apps. Elements, the design one is where it really provides you the opportunity to change around if you kind of feel like, oh, okay, I thought I liked this one, but now that I have it in here, I really don't like it that much. You could switch to this one. We're going to go back, but I'm just showing you. This one is the one that has the paid graphics, so we're not going to. It says remove watermark, but remove watermark means pay. So we're going to go back, and in this design, you can change a variety of things. You can change the elements. Elements are. They give you all the things that you've recently used, which I did mess around with an American flag last night. You can do shapes in the background, or you know, where you want to put text. You can type. You can look for more graphics. You can even look for photos. So we're just going to type in. Well, but it's a patriotic wreath. I don't know if we'll find that, but patriotic wreath. Okay, there are photos, there are frames that like have a wreath around them. They kind of try to like guess what you think you might want. I am going to look at all the graphics here, which by doing that, what I did was, I'm going to go back. Sorry, oh, that was a bad idea. Sorry, hold on. We're in Elements. So I typed in patriotic wreath, and these are the wreaths that came up. It looks like this one is really the only one that actually has like an American flag on it. So I'm gonna click on it, and it's gonna just drop right into that. Now, it's paid. You see the crown? So we're gonna get rid of that. Bye-bye. I think we're going to move on from Patriotic Wreath because it doesn't look like they have a lot of good choices that are free. You can't sort them. Even if I go to see all, they all have crowns. Maybe I'll try a firework, even though it's Memorial Day, but. Okay, so we have a lot of fireworks with crowns. They're going to do that. They're going to put them towards the top because they want you to really want pro. That's okay. We're going to actually delete these flags. If you click on them, there's a little garbage can. Am I going too fast? Okay, we're going to get rid of the flags. Bye. And we're going to move this firework up in here. You can move it around. You can move it all over the place. It actually, if you see, when you move it towards the middle, it will tell you you're at the middle. It's like, hey you, well, let me help you out here. You're in the middle. Okay, but I don't like these colors. I want them to look more American. Here are a bunch of colors up here that I can change. So within this, you can choose. I find it hard to know exactly which things I'm changing. So I just kind of mess around with them and pick, red. Do I like red there? I don't know. We're going to play around with it a little bit. And you can use a few different blues, replace whatever it is that you want with different colors. It brings up the colors that are already in your document right here. But it also provides you some choices down here as well. These are default colors. Different things that are available if I wanted to add yellow or what have you. And there's this square here, and this square provides you the opportunity to pick your own color. There's a slider that lets you go through all the colors, and then within this you can move your dot around and pick a blue that you want. And you can see the square that's highlighted is the one that's changing as I move this around. Can you all see that? Yeah. So this is basically a way that you can change the colors of your choices. You can add one, or you can just click on one and change it. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I guess you can't. Yeah, you have to do it like this. So within the plus, if you already know hex codes of something that you're interested in using, some people have brand hex codes. You can just drop them in there. But if you move them around, you will also see that it changes hex codes for you. And I'm going to get to a really cool hex code provider in a minute, but, well, not a minute, but a little bit. But these are just different ways to change the colors that you, whoa, why did that happen? So I'm just making reds and blues here. This is not going to look good. Please do not think that this is my graphic design talent, but is everybody okay so far? Okay, so this really, really looks bad. But with that in mind, you can also go, this is a square over top. You can change the font of this to Memorial Day, I'm sorry, to say all these different fonts. There's a font drop down. You can choose the font that you would want instead, one that might represent you. In Pro, you can actually upload fonts. So if you have a brand font, you can use the font files and drop them in there. In this case, I'm going to pick wedges and just change what it looks like. I also think that maybe I'd like to have this be a little bit lighter, a little bit of blue in my Memorial Day, but not much. So I'm just going to come over here and pick a tiny bit of blue shading to it. And if you see that I moved this over to the left, I did that on purpose. Canva has, I'm actually going to move this one over as well. Canva has some cool tricks within it that let you resize. You can make the font larger. You can make the box larger so that it accommodates this larger font. You can spread out your letters. There's a little thing here that has it has an up and down arrow, and you can make your letters go wider. I don't know if you've seen how sometimes people do that design where they make things really close together or really far apart.
Do that one more time, the letter spacing.
Yep, so this little arrow hickey right here,
Okay, it was the same.
if you hover over it, it says spacing, and then you're going to click on that. There's one that's letter spacing, and there's one that's line spacing.
Gotcha.
I'm going to show you line spacing in just a second. So if you want your letters to be wider, smaller. But then, a lot of times, maybe you have something that's, I'm making this font really big, that maybe you think these lines are too close together. You can go over to the spacing as well and go to line spacing and separate them a little more. And that's helpful sometimes when you can make it sort of, I guess it's justified down, whatever that, is that what that's called? So I have everything, it's a hot mess on here, but I want it to be centered. You all right? You're struggling. You're making a face like you're no? Yeah, are you okay? Okay, all right. So I would like all of these to be centered. And so therefore, there are two ways I can do that. I could go up and click one, and there's position. And within position, you could choose center, and it will center it to the graphic that you're making, just like that. But the other thing that you could do is move it, like I said, it'll show you where the center is when you're moving it. But let's say I want everything to be lined up together. You can do that too. You're going to pick, you can either pick each item with the shift button down. You have to hold the shift button down. And you can go to position again, and it will center with each other. It's not going to center in the graphic, it's going to center under one another. So you might still need to kind of make sure that it's centered within the graphic itself, but it would be centered under one another. The other way you can do that, if these are all askew, is you can, you can go from outside the graphic, click and hold. You'll grab the ones that you want. But unfortunately, I'm also grabbing this American America in the background, so I'm going to go down just a little bit and grab it this way. So I have all of them, and then I can once again go to position and center. This is off to the side. It's centering only with one another, so you're just going to put it just a little bit over more. The other thing is, if you'll notice, this line is down too close to this. That's okay. We're all right, because we're going to, once again, take all of these items, go to position, and you can space evenly vertically. So it will spread them out so that everything is evenly spaced. I find that to be really handy when I'm trying to make a list of something and I'm taking the minute little, trying to move it and line it up. You know, a lot of times if you're making a list, you might want everything to be the same to the left. Okay, this one, yeah, what am I doing again?
Making them all line up like that.
So spaced. So let's make them not spaced. I'm going to come outside of my graphic. I'm going to highlight everything. Then I'm going to go up to position. And I'm going to go to space evenly vertically, which is, sometimes you have to scroll down to see that. You can space evenly horizontally too if you have a list of things that are across the page that you want them to be spaced well. But in this case, we're going to do vertically, and boom, they all have the same amount of space in between them. Now, as I said, you can, if you're making a list of something and you need it to be like to the left, when I choose Align Elements Left, you'll notice, remember an honor didn't do it. Do you know why? Neither really did this one. Okay, these are also centered. So when you're in a paragraph in Word and you center in Word, you use this little guy here for alignment. It's the same in here. So if you would want everything to line up to the left and you have something that's centered, it's naturally not going to get centered. Now you may feel compelled to like move this so that it equals, but you don't need to do that. You can just go to alignment and it gives you like every choice in a row. You can just pick left align. Now look, it's left aligned. This one's also centered. Because see how this is kind of in and so is the of the brave. If you wanted that to all be left, you would just need to go up to alignment and they would all be to the left. So that is, and maybe the reason that you're doing that is because you're going to put a little graphic down here. You can resize your graphic so that it's not. And one thing I want to say, because this is painful to me, when you're designing something, keep in mind, like, you don't need to put this right smack next to the line. White space is really important when you're designing things. So when I see this, I think someone was in a hurry. Try to maybe just give it its own little world. Let it breathe. So here is, you know, my left justified, and maybe up here I want to type my own thing, and I'm going to say closed. So I can either take Memorial Day and copy it, which is this duplicate. Once you click on it, it'll, I don't know what Magic Write is. I'm pretty sure it's an AI thing, which I'm not dealing with that. But you can duplicate and bring it up here and say closed. Or, we're going to delete that. You can go over to text and it'll give you the option of choosing. They have a bunch of pre-made things if you wanted to use a pre-made design under text. A lot of them, of course, are paid. Or you can just use add a heading and it will just kind of put a bare item there. Well, that wasn't good. We're going to undo. Where's our heading? Okay, and you might want to just say closed. Are y'all, is this, are we doing this?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So this is not how I would ever tell people that I was closed on Memorial Day, like just closed. Thanks for your service and for your, you know, for your bravery in losing your life, but we're closed. I wouldn't do that, but I'm just for the sake of doing this, we're just going to pick, we're going to pick a different font. Anything, you know, just again, we're not going for design awards here. I'll just pick. And then just really quick, I'm going to show you this, and we're going to actually use a little restroom break here. But there's an effects where you can put a drop shadow. You can choose what color you want your drop shadow to be. So if you wanted your drop shadow to kick it out more, you could use a red or a blue. And this is where I suggest that you just play around with these things. This lift is sort of similar to, it's like a spray around the word, a spray paint effect. You can neon it. And whatever the color is that your letter is, it's going to kind of make it look like it's lit up. You can add a glitch, which is there's only 2 color choices, but it kind of makes it like a neon-y, flashy kind of. This gives 3 lines. There's a lot of these different choices that you can pick. You can also scroll down further to this curve and make it curve. So if you wanted to really be fancy with your rudeness of saying closed, you could make a curved, lifted, closed. And if you really wanted to even be more offensive, you could make it animated, where it comes in and, you know, Too bad, we're closed. We're gonna like really announce it. So these animations, you just click on one and it becomes a played item. I don't always suggest this because sometimes they automatically generate when you're scrolling through like a social media post. You wouldn't want to animate on a poster because you're printing a poster, so that's kind of dumb. But if you're putting it on social media, you may not necessarily want to even have it animated either. It just depends on what your goal is with your promotion. So I'm going to remove this animation and I'm just going to be, I'm just going to have it like this. So this is a poster. Okay, I lied. One more thing. QR codes. There's a thing down here that has apps. There are apps that are free within the free Canva. And QR code is one of them. QR code, where are we? Simple QR code. I believe that's the one that you can use. Maybe even this one. Let's try QR code. So with an app, you're going to pick one of these apps, type in QR code. I picked this one that looks like an actual QR code. And you choose open. You're going to put in the URL. So I'm going to put uniontownymca.org. We're going to generate the code. Now, something that I see, this will work if somebody wants to go to the Uniontown YMCA website. There are QR code applications that will track how many people have used your QR code. This is not one of them. You're not going to be able to tell how many people have used your QR code to go to your website. If you do want that, talk to Kathy Hull. She has a membership to one of those. I don't know what it's called, but there are membership things where you can see like how often is my QR code used. I do want to point out with QR codes, a lot of people do something that I don't think they really think out very thoroughly, which is putting a QR code on a social media post. Now, when you're holding your phone and you're looking at your phone, what are you going to scan with, right? So if you're doing a printed item, if you're doing, let's see, does this have one? Like if you were doing something about Penn State and you wanted the person to find out more about Penn State, great, put a QR code on there. Don't put a QR code on your social media posts, So they do generate free QR codes. And that's even within. There are a few more apps in here. I'm not going to go through them. There are more that are available for free. But let's take a little break. And what time is it now?
Hey, can I ask one question?
Yes.
At what point do you say?
Oh.
Do you name it at the beginning?
Thank you. Okay, sorry. Real quick, again, it is saving as you go. So it will be in your main area here. After you've done.
I'd like to say, title it.
Yes. You can go back and actually title it here if you want to, in your main page. This is the main page. However, if you wanted to download this and send it to the printer, you can't just print right from here, but you can go to, they call it share, which I find annoying because it doesn't seem like printing. And under share, you can do download, share on social, print with Canva. It should be print with bags, but but you're gonna
With some tweaks to
yeah. Once we yeah. So you would download. And then you choose your file type. And I really would like to talk a little bit more about that, but I want to take a break before we do that, and then we can come back and talk about what it means to print. And so it was pointed out to me during the break that apparently some people do look at a computer screen on social media and then scan the QR code with their phone. I don't know if I would bank on that, but okay, Kathy, whatever you say. All right, so another thing I wanted to talk about was sending something to be printed. So when you are having a poster or a flyer printed, I brought a couple things that I've done just to show you the difference between a bleed and not bleed. So we're not talking medical issue here. This is paper, and if you have a bleed, that means that it is cut off on the ink. If you don't have a bleed, you have a white edge. So this is not bleed. This is bleed. Now, okay, ignore that. But like, you can see there's no white frame around it. So when you're sending something to print and you want to have a bleed, it's not going to happen if you don't know what you're doing. And this is what will happen when you send something to Staples, or if you're planning on doing this edge, that's fine. But here's one from Penn State. They also did something with an edge. No big deal. Send it to their printer. Fine, like their print machine in their office. But if you're sending something to be printed, whether it has a bleed or not, you're always going to want to design your item with a 1/4 inch on each side of no text or graphics in case it would get cut. And the machines are pretty precise, but also, and Danny, you can kind of explain for a second, like what, or not for however long, why do we need a 1/4 inch in?
Printing error, cutting, I wouldn't even say error, just, it just ends up being very close to the edge. You take the chance of things being cut off that you didn't want cut off. So like, whenever she was doing that, the first thing I saw was how it looks close to me. And I think, okay, if my machine is just a little bit off, my cutter's just a little bit off, it's gonna be very close to the edge, and it just doesn't look as good, I think. But I would not go any less than 1/8 of an inch, but a 1/4 inch is usually a good guide.
So how do you do that in Canva? Like, how are you gonna even know? So what we're gonna do is go over to the file area, and unfortunately, I'm gonna tell you that in Pro or in not Pro, it's not gonna be quite as may not be set up exactly the way you want. But under Settings, there is a Show Rulers and Guides, and there's a Show Margins. There's also a Show Print Bleed. So we're going to turn on the rulers, and luckily this item is done in inches. If you were in Pro, you would be able to set inches, but I find sometimes when I'm in here, I find that whoever set up the graphics sets it up in centimeters, and so then you almost have to start a new item from scratch and then put it in there to be able to do this. But you can...
How do you know that it's inches? Because I'm just seeing numbers across it.
Well, it would be like 0.02, because I know that this is a flyer that's 8.5 by 11, because I made it that size. A flyer is 8.5 by 11. Yes, ma'am.
If you had to change it, from here, if you had to change it from centimeters to inches.
You can't do that in here. You have to actually grab everything and copy it and make a new one, which would be like, like starting from scratch. And when you make a new one, you would go to Create a Design, Custom Size. And this is custom size is where you could pick whether you want pixels, inches, whatever. And that way you would know that you were in the correct measurement. Or, I'm a graphic designer, so I'm not going to do this because it's math, but you could figure out how much the centimeters should be instead of inches. That might be a way around it, but I'm not doing that. So anyway, when you do turn on your settings and you have your rulers and you show print bleed, a print bleed has to have your design go out over what you're going to cut. So when Danny has this paper, there is way more to the paper that they cut off right where they're supposed to cut it off. But it doesn't always happen that way, which is why you need a bleed. You need to be able to have, like if we were to imagine there's more ink designed here that is cut perfectly. So when you turn on your print bleed, it already adds, and I believe it's a 1/8 of an inch bleed to it. If your graphic isn't stretching that far because it's just a picture, you might have to stretch it yourself and make it so that the background actually bleeds. You may have to use these little handles and bring the color over to the edge. But that's not the 1/4 inch that she's talking about, because this is where it's cut. Whereas it also has to come in a 1/4 inch. Now, if you see down here, there's a slider. And when you, like for me anyway, like I've recently had to start using glasses a whole lot more than I ever did before. But being able to tell where a 1/4 inch is easier when I'm up close. So if you grab the ruler and just kind of drag it over here, it'll start to tell you, and the last time I checked, a 1/4 is 2.25. It will not, it's not going to do exact. It won't. You can sit here from now till the cows come home, and it's going to be 2.46, it's going to be 2.55, but I would just do the 2.55 on that side. I'm going to scroll back out. I'm going to come over here a little bit more. Well, actually, wait, hold on. Yeah. And then I can come over here and grab another one for my guide and go in backwards another, this is 8.5, 8.25. Come on, Wendy. You know what I'm saying.
You got it.
So, per Danny's instructions, we are inside. Now we want to also do it from the top. Make sure that you're not going over. And then we're going to drag another one down to the bottom. Make sure that we're not going over. Don't count the bleed amount as part of your amount. Oh, Wendy. I can't see what that says. 10.7. Okay, but that, you get the idea. So as long as you're within this area, you're going to have a lot more success in getting your item printed from a print shop, especially if it's a bleed. You have the bleed. Now, some printing situations require that you have crop marks when you're sending, and that tells the print shop where to crop the bleed. So it says like, okay, you have this overrun of ink. I may not know exactly how much your overrun is, but if you put the crop marks there, it'll tell me where my machine is supposed to cut. So we're going to have a look here at share. And there's just so much here. I'm sorry, because I could go on and on and on. But when you're sharing, depending on how you're going to save this item, if you want to save it for social media, you may want to save it as a JPEG or a PNG. Thank you. But if you're going to send it to a printer, you're going to want to download it and save it as a PDF. But not just any PDF. You want PDF print, because it will give you the opportunity to, if you just send a regular PDF, a lot of times you're also supposed to send like the font files and the graphics so that it like loads correctly. This packages it all in one piece of art. So you're going to choose PDF print. Here's an opportunity to choose crop marks and bleed, so it takes into account the bleed itself, because you're cutting off here, you're not doing this white edge. If you don't do that, you don't need to do the crop marks and bleed, right? Great. And then you're also going to choose flatten PDF, and that way when the person opens it, they don't need to, their machine isn't going to be looking for the fonts, it's not going to be looking for the art, it's going to be looking for, it's all there. Now, the fun of being in non-pro is that you can't choose CMYK. You can only choose RGB, which is best for digital use. CMYK is the best color combination for printing. It gets the most robust colors for your print job. RGB is better for digital use, because digital machinery does not generate the same number of colors as, or actually, wait, more? Whatever. You need one.
Which one do you want us to use though?
So,
Use the RGB?
well, unfortunately, if you have the free one, you're going to have to use RGB. Your colors are not going to be completely exactly the way you want them to be. They'll be pretty close, but they're not going to be exact.
Okay.
And by that, I mean they're going to be a little bit more bright. So sometimes, like if you have a green, it might end up being a little bit neonish or something. But typically, it's not too drastic. So you would pick, if you were in Pro, you would pick CMYK, but in this case, you're just going to have to pick RGB. And you would download and you would send it to your printer like that. My problem is I don't know how to open this. And yes, I did register this as Sid Frank, so ignore that. So here's what it looks like with the crop marks. Oh, it opened. That's cool. This is larger than the graphic that you would actually use. It is telling Danny or whoever, chop this off here so that there's no white space. And you've gone in your 1/4 inch or more, and it's ready to print. Did I answer that? Okay. All right. So that is the way it is regardless of, this does not change whether you're using Pro or free, other than the fact that if you're downloading and you're sending to the printer and you're using Pro, you want to choose CMYK. With that in mind, if you have a PDF that you're sending for some reason to someone and you're doing it, like for example, I send proofs to people for them to see their social media graphics. I may send it in a PDF, and if I do, I want to, bless you, I want to donate, I want to download that as an RGB because it's a digital item. If you would be downloading this for social media, or if you're sending a flyer to the chamber or what have you, you could choose a PNG instead. It will not show these little guidelines. It's not going to download those. Those are just there for your own. You can send a JPEG, you can send a PNG. JPEGs are smaller for websites, so if you're going to be using graphics on a website, your site speed is really important, and so you want to download smaller graphics if possible. Websites don't need gargantuous photos, and so, but if you're going to be doing, like this is more of an illustration than a photo. If you're going to be doing a social media post, you could do a PNG, whatever you want, and it would just download to your download folder, and you could put it into your Facebook or Instagram, or whatever it is that you're doing. Or you can send it to the chamber to run in their eBlitz, etc. So that is, and the other thing I just wanted to tell you really quick is you don't have to use, I keep saying really quick and then I'm not really quick, but you don't have to use a template. You can go to create a design on the home page and you can just start, it'll drop down. If you want a Facebook post, it will give you a blank Facebook post. And this is the same with Pro as well. If I wanted to go to natural soap, I could use that, but if I don't want to and I want to just build my own thing, I could start with elements. And I could just take a shape and start building things with circles, shapes. You can go up and try to find a frame. Photo frames. They have see all, there's a bunch of them. Here's a squiggly one. I can drop a picture in here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to elements, and I know I'm going really fast here, but we also haven't covered Pro at all, so I just want to, let's say we're sticking with the American flag. There are photos. It gives you graphics, photos, videos. You're not going to be able to use the videos no matter what you do if you're in the free one.
It's just pull and drop then for your, but not in the blocks, but in the spot where it has the. Yeah.
Right, so
Okay.
I would just drag it and put it into that frame.
Perfect, got it.
Yeah, or I could drop a flag and put it in, resize it, and I could put it behind, you know, like maybe I want,
Gotcha.
yeah. So this is just one way of building from scratch. I find a lot of times that I like to take things that other people have done and just tweak them, but sometimes this is a handy process. So I'm going to move from that quickly into Pro, which is on this other browser. I made a lot of different graphics for you to check out. This is Stephanie's Pottery Shop. And it is something, it's a social media post. We're gonna go back home. And this is where all your graphics are located. If you have a bunch of them, they'll be on your recent designs page. The home page, if you scroll down, there's a recent designs area. I actually made one for spa faces.
Can you walk us through that? Because those are the things I don't know.
Yes. Now, I'm going to tell you,
It's okay.
a lot of these are really quick and really easy. They just look like they're not. We're going to go up to positive pet products. I made a little, okay, wait, can we, yeah. He deserves a treat. So this would be like a little, maybe a Instagram reel. I don't know. I don't do a lot of social media, which is crazy considering what I do for a living. You think I should, but. And then here's a YMCA. So there's a lot of neat things that you can do that are not just your average. I hope nobody minds that I used their business to make a thing. I just looked at who was attending and picked out some people that I thought might be game. So
Free advertising, it's okay.
there you go. I also made this little thing that you can bend letters and do gradients. That's something that you can do in Pro that you can't do in the free one, is to use gradients in general. So
Wendy, Pro's only 120 a year, right?
correct. Am I convincing you?
Ask you the difference too between Pro and Teams. Is it working in Teams?
So Teams is, I think, from what I understand, Teams is when you have a variety of people in a business who are going to be sharing Canva and doing their own graphics, but yet like being able to share them with one another if they need to. So for example, if I was in an agency and I was doing something for my client and Joe was doing stuff for his client and we needed to be able to swap them back and forth, or even like a large business where I know, like I do work for Fayette County Drug and Alcohol and they have different departments. So maybe, you know, this person's designing for the prevention department and this person's designing for the DUI department or whatever. They could share the graphics with one another and it's under one payment plan instead of I pay 120, you pay 120, or we both log into the same account and my graphics get pushed down on the main page because you designed these 3 things and I can't find my stuff. So I don't, you know, the chamber, they're all designing different things and you don't have a Teams account. The team.
No, we have a Pro account, and then we all have our own logins, and we just share stuff to each other. We do have a main, but I guess we kind of are in a team because our main account, that's how we're all Pro.
You can have so many people within your team without having to pay for the teams.
And this happened before the Teams thing. I don't know. I think we all are a Teams,
But not the paid
but
team.
not the paid teams, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Mine, but I'm in Teams, in ours.
So we must be a team, have a team, but not a paid team account.
Yeah, because there was one point where I had my own account that Canva, the chamber was using my Canva account, and Kathy added a couple people, and somehow it went up from $19 or $15 a month to $39 a month. Like, so we.
I think because we're a nonprofit, we have the 3, because of the nonprofit, we're able to be a team.
So I'm not sure where to go from here as far as like Pro is concerned. I'm going to tell you that there are a boatload of tutorials that are available online, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, to show you how to do a lot of these little tricks.
Can you show them how to change the size of something, like for an ad?
Yes, so that's a great idea. So we're going to go into, let's pick Stephanie's Pottery Shop. And this is a, what are we here? It's 180 by, so this is an Instagram post. And let's say I wanted to make it into a, I would look under this resize and magic switch. And if I wanted to go into, you can actually translate it into another language, which is really crazy. But if you go under social media, you could either pick custom size. If I just did some designs for a company that then I had to turn it into billboards. And so it resized for me. That was not something that would have been up in the custom size area because it was a weird size. But for social media purposes, you can go in here and start scrolling down to find, let's say you wanted to make it into a Facebook event cover. It lets you choose that, and then it says continue. Then you're going to go copy and resize, or you can resize this design. I always suggest copy and resize. It's going to save another one into your folder, but you know, there's such a there's a lot of room in there for you to save something, but you're going to lose this if you don't copy. So we're going to still have this one, but we're going to copy and resize. And so then it wants to know, do you want me to open this one or do you want me to leave this here? So I'm going to open the other one. And here we go. Now we're at a Facebook event cover. And I'm actually going to put that in here so that I know what I'm working with here. And the great thing is that it actually keeps up with what these event cover sizes are because they're changing all the time, and that's very frustrating. Unfortunately, because there's a lot of lining up that goes with this, in order for me to really make it work, this style isn't going to work anymore because I had to like strategically place this so that it would fit like this. And then, you know, the other containers are now missing. But at least you see how the sizing would happen. I can resize her items. And if I come over here and I just click and drag, I can group these together. So I could make Stephanie's logo larger if I wanted to. And just say, you know, let's say I do the text and I decide to use sparkle. Maybe I don't like yellow and I want to go with a dark blue, and I want to say event. That is not showing up too well, but you know what I mean. I can change this background to be, if you go to edit image, I could decide that I really don't want, this is like one thing that's crazy about Pro is that you can get rid of the background. I don't know how this is going to work with this little leaf laying over here, but we're going to click on the background remover under edit image, and it will actually just give me the piece of pottery. There is a little bit of the leaf showing there, but overall it's giving me that image. There's a lot of things that you can play with here. You can change the filter. This is actually a black and white filter. If I wanted to make it retro or nostalgic or dream, the background, I can do that. I'm really like kind of flying here, sorry.
Show that where that was the effects though. Is
Yep.
right?
Okay, so I have the image clicked, and under edit image,
Yep,
there are filters.
gotcha. And
So I can see all and I can look at all of them.
gotcha.
I did have it as a black and white, and there are like a bunch more here. If you follow this arrow, I could make it look like, and actually I must have everything chosen now, but I could make it look more like a newspaper. I could do this weird color pop thing where I make it, you can even adjust like the intensity of how much color pop you want. It's really a lot of fun to play with it, but it's also there's a lot that we could show. And I thought, maybe 2 hours would be too long, but really, this is.
We were saying how much you can do with it, and it can just suck you in.
Yeah, it really can. And that's why I said, don't be afraid to play around with this. The problem is, a lot of times you don't have time to play around with it.
One thing I would recommend is when you're working on it, because you get so zoned in on the exact thing you're doing at that moment, blow it up to 100% every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because sometimes your fonts are way too big.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was going to be that big, and then you got to go back and restructure it again. So play with your sizing button at the bottom a lot when you're working with it, because it'll save you time at the end.
You know how to do postcards? Because I couldn't figure it out, so I just did it in a publisher.
So when you say postcards, do you mean
Print, create a little postcard.
Yeah, they have them in there.
you would just choose?
I saw the templates, but I couldn't figure out how to download it properly. It didn't put forward to a page. It was on the full page itself
Oh,
when I printed it out.
If you download it to your computer, that's when you would change it.
yeah, you would
I
just.
didn't know how to change it though.
Yeah, but you would save it, download it. Once it's downloaded, you want to open it up on your printing app on your computer, and then that's when you're going to.
So if you're printing them, if you're printing.
On here, you have to download it first.
If you're printing on Avery type RIP ones, then they have templates for that. Or you could have Danny print them.
I was just gonna say, if you are sending it to a printer, chances are your printer will, to a printing company, let me specify that, chances are your printing company will want it just one up. It won't want it already laid out, because different printing companies print on different sizes. They might be printing it 20 up, they might be printing it 4 up. So it just depends, but if you're printing it on your own, then yes, exactly what you said, but if you were sending it to a company, they would only want it 1 up.
So the PDF will let you choose forward to a page?
Once you download it to your computer, you're going to open whatever you're going to.
Perfect.
If you're using Avery's Print Shop or whatever,
I was just printing from my computer.
so then you would just you would open up your print app in your computer, and then it'll ask you how you want to print it, and then you would pull it in and then format it.
Yeah. I was just with publisher.
Something else I wanted to tell you all, within these colors, you can make your own brand, your own brand information, load in your own
That's really cool.
brand information if you have.
You're continually using the same stuff. It has everything saved in one spot.
Right, so I did this for the YMCA. I used to do their social media stuff, and they have, a variety of colors that they require you to use. It's like their brand standards. You can have your logos and what have you in there, so it's available to you. And what was I going to say here? Oh, because I know we're out of time here. The other thing I wanted to give you a tip about is when you're looking at a graphic and let's say you really like it, but you don't know. One thing that I've had a hard time with is blobs. I didn't know this was called a blob, but this is what Canva calls these little things. These are blobs, okay? So if I wanted a blob that was like a grunge blob, and it had like some scratchy edges to it, you could, let's say you saw this blob and you liked it, but you don't know what to look up. You can click on this little I for info, and then under here are all the keywords that you could look up. That's how I figured out that they use the word blob. So keywords, you're going to look up distressed, textured, grunge, blob, any of these, and it might bring up some items that you're interested in.
And also I think on Pro too, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm so used to Pro, it has that suggestions bar when you click
It does.
the image.
So,
That's
and
super helpful.
it is helpful. Sometimes it gives you things you're like, where did this come from? Because I think it's sometimes from the same artist. But for example, I don't know why. Oh, because I used a specific word. But if I picked, yeah, I don't know. There will be like magic suggestions that they give you as well. So I'm out of time. I'm sorry. I really would be able to keep going and going. If anybody would want to get a hold of me and have any questions, I know you wanted to know how to make that video thing.
Just that YMCA video, just to understand, or just quick videos, because that's the one part in Canva that I have just not mastered.
Well, I learned that on a tutorial, which I can send to you. It's very easy.
Just look up the tutorials on Canva of
There's a guy on Facebook that does a lot of these cool things that I can get you. Thank you all for coming. I hope you all got something out of this. So.